Pain is a sensation you cannot ignore. In fact, you must dive right in. Pay close attention, because the more you try to run from pain, the tighter its grip becomes on you. So in neurology, we know that experiencing a physical pain in the body doesn't necessarily mean that there is physical damage. It can, by all means, it can absolutely mean there is physical damage, but things like chronic pain, kink in the neck, nerve pain, muscle tweaks, these types of pain are often indicators of potential threat, not actual damage. And this happens when we lose our ability to feel ourselves, when we lose our ability to feel our internal sensations or our position in space. That's our proprioceptive awareness, or our sensations is our interoceptive awareness. When we lose our ability to actually connect with these sensations, the body interprets this ambiguity as danger. So the fix for these types of physical symptoms is to rebuild this internal sense of trust, this internal sense of ability to feel yourself, to slowly work your way to experiencing your body again. And similarly, this happens with emotional avoidance as well. If we lose our ability to emotionally interpret how we're feeling, if we can't name our emotions or where those emotions sit in the body, this in turn signals to our system that we may be in danger, and it doubles down on negative effects in the body. And what can happen is, over time, something called central sensitization occurs, where we become so hypersensitive that these signals become amplified. We go in a nervous system loop, a neural loop, where the sensations turn into threats. It's the brain trying to protect you, so it starts overproducing these signals into loud alarms, which is then interpreted as pain. So even when an original physical injury or emotional injury has long healed, the brain interprets this as a threat because it has established a feedback loop of not being able to properly feel what is occurring in the body. And this can cause a real neurobiological shift. So you can have actual changes in the spinal cord, in the brain stem, and in areas of the brain linked to emotion and memory. So through this process, physical changes do actually occur. But in saying that, we are amazing and brilliant creatures, and change can occur in the other direction as well, in the direction of healing and pleasure. On top of this central sensitization, what else can occur is a fear avoidance cycle. So the more that physical or emotional pain scares us, the more that we physically guard and tense and brace ourselves and avoid movement, our breath can shallow. That avoidance in turn reduces sensory input, and it feeds this uncertainty, and it ironically makes the brain even more convinced that something is dangerously wrong. So when you're going through this and you add everyday stress on top of that, like pressure from work, pressure from relationships, financial worry, or just like the simple exhaustion of existing, of living in this like fast-paced, demanding world, the system gets flooded with stress hormones, and that further lowers your pain threshold, or your window of capacity, your ability to handle pain, to handle life itself. So the lower that this pain threshold exists at, it just keeps the whole loop spinning. And the body and mind, they're not separate here. So unresolved emotional load and social stress, it becomes the fuel that keeps this hypersensitization alive. So that's for emotional pain, that's for physical pain. Your body and your mind and life itself has a really funny way of directing you back to the parts which you ignore. So whether that's through illness or injury or burnout, through looping thoughts like OCD symptoms, anxiety, depression, or other mental ailments, it's a signal that you have unprocessed emotion, avoided sensation, or you have focus on an external circumstance where you actually need to be directing your attention back inwards, internally, back into yourself. So this is a simplified explanation, but I hope it gets the picture across. Basically, all forms of therapy, whether it's cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, EMDR, psychoanalysis, IFS, internal family systems, all of these major psychological approaches do the same thing. They illuminate the suppressed parts of your psyche, the unconscious. And just like turning toward the physical pain rebuilds trust in the body, turning toward the emotional pain rebuilds trust in the psyche. Sensation and emotion must be felt. Your life must be looked at with complete honesty, or the universe will force you to meet yourself and evolve your patterns through some pretty tough life lessons. And that's a valid way to learn, letting life be the teacher. It's unavoidable in many ways. That's what we're here to do. We're here to be human. We're here to learn through life experience. But a cheat code to breaking these patterns is by developing your own spiritual practice and developing your own self-awareness, and thus awareness, expanding awareness of life itself. I will tell you a story about my first experience meditating. This was at a Vipassana course. So if you know, you know. And these courses are intense, to say the least. It's probably the most intense thing I've ever done. It's a silent 10-day course. So men and women are divided into separate areas to mitigate distraction. You must wear fully covered clothes. You eat only 2 vegetarian meals a day. There's no talking. There's no eye contact. There's no reading or writing or exercise. There is no distraction whatsoever. And most importantly, you sit meditating for 10 hours or more a day. I attended my first course actually during a really painful period of my life. It was extremely uncomfortable. I was very inflamed in my body. I had an eating disorder at the time. I was quite overweight. I had severe acne, which it physically hurt my skin. And I forgot all of my skincare products, so the acne and the pain got worse the entire time I was at the course, and my body was not used to a vegetarian diet, so I had like bloating and gut issues the whole time. But worst of all, the previous year, I had actually ruptured a disc in my lower back, and I had been in excruciating pain ever since. And what I didn't realize was that actually by avoiding the sensations in my back, I'd lost that interoceptive trust and the ability to feel what was happening within my body. So the technique that I learned at Vipassana, it actually gave me a way to rebuild that. And you can imagine how painful it was for anyone to sit for 10 hours per day, but to have a back injury and sit for 10 hours per day, it was an extremely painful experience, and I wanted to leave every single hour of every single day that I was there, but I didn't. I stayed, and maybe it was my big ego not wanting to quit something I'd started, but truthfully, it was a desperation that I felt, and a need and a longing to know myself deeper, to discover inner peace, and to rid myself of the burdens I felt were holding me in such agony. So by day 7, my back was screaming at me, and the meditation style of Vipassana is a body scan technique. And I realized as I was going through the body scan technique that I was actually avoiding this area of pain in my lower back. I would scan through my whole body and feel the sensations, but I would sort of skip over that painful part in my lower back. So I decided to see what would happen if I didn't. So I was avoiding it because it hurt, so I didn't want to feel it, but somehow I felt maybe there's something to this avoidance. Maybe I'm exacerbating the pain by avoiding it. So I decided to run a little self-experiment and feel the pain, like actually feel what that sensation felt like. And as I was scanning through my body, the rest of my body just felt like vibration. Like these are just cells vibrating. And when I finally looked at and felt my lower back, I realized that that too was simply pure vibration. It wasn't any different to any sensation that I had in any other part of my body. It was only my mind that was judging it, good or bad, which determined my internal reaction, which determined my feeling of pain. But if I looked at it equanimously, as they say, without judgment, unconditionally observing it, I realized that that sensation was no different to any other sensation that I was experiencing. So once I focused my attention clearly, and once I saw the truth of what that pain was, that it too was simply pure vibration, in that moment, everything shifted. I had insight after insight. All of this knowledge flooded into my consciousness. We understand life through contrast. Everything is awareness. Everything is vibration. This is a field of oneness. It is all the same thing, appearing as many things, and so on and so on. I felt like if I asked a question, I immediately had the answer to it. I was in a pure state of bliss and knowing, and it felt like I melted. This vibratory state of my body merged into everything else, and I quite literally felt my body disappear. I felt like I did not exist anymore. I melted into the air around me, into the floor beneath me, because I realized it was all the same. I saw the truth of that in that moment, and I was gone. My mind was gone, my body was gone, and I just felt pure vibratory bliss. And then suddenly my mind chimed back in, like, haha, I did it, I'm enlightened. And then in that moment, the entire world came crashing back. My back pain came back. I felt myself in my body again, and it was truly hilarious. And what's also funny is I remember thinking along the way, there's no way some dude 1,000 years ago can reach enlightenment and I can't. So it's really funny how the ego does play its role in this. You are here with the ego, as the ego, here to experience life through that. So anyway, I digress. All experience is here to be felt, and all emotion, all pain, all preference, all addiction, all ailment is here to teach you and guide you and lead you ultimately back to yourself. Once I learned about meditation, established this technique within myself, I dove even deeper into shadow work, into looking at my own patterns, my own history, my own thoughts, my own feelings. Once I learned how to truly sit with myself, and I practiced this over years, my lower back pain it's gone. I do not any longer suffer with chronic lower back pain. And I'll also say that my emotional state, my ability to handle adversity, to handle tough emotional experiences, that capacity has increased as well. So through your ability to sit with yourself and be with yourself and know yourself, that alone expands your capacity not only for life, but to experience joy within that life. So do not resist pain, do not resist your life lessons. If they present themselves lovingly, let them teach you. Surrender to the process and surrender to life. It is all here for you, for your evolution, for your growth, and ultimately for your self-realization, for your knowledge of self. If you leave sensation, shadow, pain, the darker parts of yourself unfelt, they will rule you in ways that you won't even be aware of. The contraction and the tensions force you to shrink into spaces you don't even want to go. Unless you free yourself from the shackles of your unfelt sensations, you'll be ruled by them and ruled by the unconscious. So let yourself expand into awareness, face all aspects lovingly, unconditionally, and without judgment, and witness, through this process, witness ease return to your life. You don't have to wait for life to force the lesson. You can choose to turn your awareness towards it, to turn your awareness inward towards yourself. And when you do, freedom is waiting on the other side.